Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's Emmy the Cat Lady here, and we are back with the Vault-Tec series. This time we're going to talk about Vault 34. So, Vault 34 is located in the Mojave region, just to the southeast of the city. And as we've seen with many of the vaults, there was an experiment that took place. In Vault 34, this included an overstocked armoury with excessive firearms and ammunition. There was a huge amount of recreational facilities, including a swimming pool and limited living space. As a result of this, overpopulation became a problem in the vault's active time. The overseer responded to this by locking the armoury. A group of the vault residents demanded access to it, and this resulted in riots, and they grabbed weapons and left the vault around 22:31. Another group attacked the armoury while security was dealing with the attack on the exit zone of the vault. This first group to exit Vault 34 eventually settled in Nellis Air Force Base to the north, becoming the Boomers, which is an isolated society who carpet bomb anyone that approaches the base. They dream of one day flying a bomber and want to lift the B-29 bomber that's lying at the bottom of Lake Mead. They obtained howitzers from Area 2 in the desert, and when they fixed the power supply to the base, they discovered the VR pods that were used to train Air Force pilots and used them to prepare for the day that they would take to the skies and bomb the savages, as they call them. So I'll let Pete fill you in on the history of the Boomers and the Boomer Museum, an otherwise pointless place really, since they don't let outsiders into Nellis very often, but the mural is pretty cool and Pete's quite knowledgeable about his people's history. So the Boomers are a minor faction, but every single main faction in Fallout New Vegas wants the courier to get the Boomers on side, especially since military air power is so rare in the wasteland. So I'll let Pete take over and explain everything for you.
How can I help you, outsider? You want to hear it again? Of course. I did a good job the first time, huh? Ages ago, long before I was born, we lived underground. Everyone had guns, but the overseer wouldn't let us explode anything, not even a hand grenade. We left and wandered the wastes. There were savages with knives. We blew them up with frag mines and grenades, burned them with flamethrowers. It was neat, but there was a downside. For every 43.6 savages we killed, we lost one of our own. We needed a new home. We needed Nellis. Here we have prospered and multiplied. Here our mighty guns destroy any savages who might try to harm us before they can even reach our gates. Well, until... But... Not saying you want to harm us or you're a savage, but anyways. Nellis has revealed many secrets. It has taught us how to fly the bombers once based here, and it has taught us where to find one. And that is our story so far. For this last image is our future. To restore the bomber, to fly the open skies in armored safety, raining high explosive ordnance upon ignorant savages. This is our destiny. I'm pleased that you listened to the entire story. Perhaps there are details you'd like to know more about. Let me know.
So, after the Boomers left the vault, the exit was sealed and guards were posted at the door. The overpopulation problem became worse, and the overseer proposed population control measures. This prompted an attempted coup, which failed to gain access to the armoury, but they damaged parts of the vault, including the reactor cooling vents, the computer systems, and other important systems and infrastructure in the vault. This led to radiation leaking into the vault interior. The engineering team, which interestingly Chris Haverson was a part of, failed to repair the reactor, and they found that they could not open the vault door again. Whether this was on purpose or not remains to be seen, but they were trapped inside. It's not very clear how Chris got out of the vault, but he joined Bright Brotherhood in 2279, and he was convinced that he had become a ghoul from being exposed to radiation within the vault. He hasn't become a ghoul, but if you visit Vault 34 now, you will find almost all of the residents have actually become ghouls, and the radiation is now leaking out of the wall and into the groundwater and the land around the vault. There's a few quests in Fallout New Vegas that will send you to Vault 34 during the game. Hard Luck Blues is the main one involving this vault. It is a quest for the NCR, which is given by one of the workers at the NCR Sharecropper Farms, which isn't too far from the vault, as well as being relatively near Camp McCarran. She mentions that the crops are not doing well and asks the courier to investigate the water sources. This quest eventually leads you into Vault 34, which is the source of the radiation in the water that the Sharecropper Farms uses. Vault 34's caves are inhabited by golden geckos who love the radiation, as we know, and the inside of the vault is full of feral ghouls that were the final residents of the vault. Some parts of the vault are also well flooded, so it's a good idea to bring the rebreather and plenty of Rad-Away and Rad-X if you plan to explore Vault 34. It's very, very dangerous. You can explore the vault and find passwords on a couple of dead glowing 1 technicians in the flooded areas, which allows you to gain access to drain some of the flooded parts and eventually get into the armoury. In order to fully explore, you will have to kill the Overseer, who is now a feral ghoul reaver and is supported by turrets in the Overseer's office. He has a password on him that allows you to unlock the armoury as well as the reactor room. You can also read a message on a terminal in the reactor room that gives you an alternative ending to the quest to deal with the radiation. This quest is also one of very, very few that basically requires you to kill something in order to complete the quest. There's really only a kind of, I think, 3 quests in the whole of Fallout New Vegas that there isn't a completely peaceful resolution and you have to kill something in order to complete it. So that's an interesting little aside there, but if you get into the reactor and you find the terminal, there's a message on there. So a group of non-ghoulified dwellers are trapped in another part of the vault that you can't access, and they want anyone that finds the message to reroute control of the computer system to them so that they can save themselves. So this leaves you with a choice, because you can't save both the farm and the vault dwellers, so you have the choice of sealing the ventilation system to stop the radiation leak and save the farms, but this leaves the remaining Vault 34 survivors to die. Or the alternative is to reroute control of the computers to them so that the Vault 34 survivors can save themselves, but this leaves the radiation leak open, so the Sharecropper Farms will fail. If you decide to save the Vault 34 survivors, a couple of days later you will find them in Suite 300 at the Aerotech office park, and you can tell them that you're the one that saved them and they'll be quite thankful. You can ask for a vault trinket, but there seems to be a bug there where you basically don't get anything, or very rarely you can get the food sanitizer. But nonetheless, they're quite grateful that you've helped save their lives, so that's something. Another quest that can involve visiting Vault 34 is Veronica's companion quest, I Could Make You Care. So this quest is given to you after 3 conversations are triggered at certain locations with Veronica about how different groups are surviving on the surface. So Veronica then asks you to help her acquire some form of technology to prove that the Brotherhood are going to fail if something doesn't change with the way they're operating. There's 3 options for that, and one of them is the pulse gun, which is found inside a very hard locked footlocker in the armoury in Vault 34. You can obtain a key for this footlocker from Pearl's barracks at Nellis Air Force Base, or you have to use lockpicking in order to obtain it. So the pulse gun was obtained, it was developed to be used against the Chinese soldiers wearing power armour, as it produces EMP, electromagnetic pulse, to deal damage, so it's effective against robots and power armour, not so useful against organic enemies. In that case, the amount of damage it does to that is very limited, but for robots it's really, really useful. And the final quest that will potentially lead you into this vault is if you're doing the Legion route and you eventually learn that Caesar has a brain tumour, and he will, when he trusts you enough, to ask you to find a way to help treat him, either by performing the surgery yourself, getting Arcade Gannon to do it by selling him into slavery, or by finding the missing parts for the autodoc that is in Caesar's tent. The only autodock in the wasteland that has the functioning diagnostic scanning module is the one inside Vault 34, which is broken, but the diagnostic scanning module is intact. So this is one option that you have for completing its Tumor Brute. Even if you want to complete that quest by killing Caesar, you can do that by fixing the autodock and then activating autopsy mode instead of surgery mode, and that way you can kill Caesar and not be blamed for it, basically. So yeah, it's an interesting one. There's a fair amount of decent loot in Vault 34. You've got a couple of unique guns like the pulse gun that we mentioned before, and the All-American, which is a unique marksman carbine, and there's also a lot of other weapons and ammo, sniper rifles, and a lot of 10mm and 10mm submachine guns, and plenty of ammo for it. There's some grenade launchers as well, so it is worth your time to get the armory unlocked in order to obtain these items and get yourself stocked up. So that is Vault 34. Unsurprisingly, another vault where everything went to hell. At least some people survived and got out, and you can save a few more if you choose to. Most of the logs on the terminals are corrupted and hard to read though, but there are some fragments of the Overseer's journal which can give us a bit more context, so we'll take a look at those just now. So let's look at some of the terminals. So here's a welcome message. Welcome to Vault 34. This vault features a state-of-the-art fitness facility including a full-size pool, something possibly personalised living quarters, and then it's all corrupted. We make up for it with a fully stocked armoury on the 4th floor. Please enjoy your stay at Vault 34. But you can see it does mention about possibly space is limited, but it's not very clear. And then we know that there's flooding and damage to the reactor. And then there's the same logs are on pretty much all the computers that are actually functional in the vault. And then tonight we attack the armory, finally get the something we need to win. It's show them population control. So again, it's all corrupted, so it's not entirely clear, but clearly some people are planning to storm the armory tonight whenever this was actually kind of logged there, and it's a rebellion against the population control methods that the Overseer was going to introduce. So understandably, it seems people were pretty unhappy about that whole situation. But this terminal, you can pump water out of one of the flooded sections, and then there's a log on the sort of reactor control terminal. So a group attacked the reactor, damaged, attempts to repair unsuccessful, and something about a manual override. And then since the riot started, the Overseer removed free access from the armory. We can't even defend ourselves. Message for whoever finds it, and again it's all corrupted, so we can't see exactly what was said, but there's clearly a lot of people unhappy about some of the Overseer's policies. Population continues to grow unhindered. With the overcrowding came violence. It was nothing at first, but quickly escalated with the open access to firearms in the armory. The armory door was not at the time connected to the main system and could not be locked, so I placed guards at the armory door to prevent some of the more troublesome residents from obtaining weapons. There was some opposition to this, but the majority of residents seemed to agree. Real trouble began when a fair number of residents began to call for population control. Foreseeing the issue spiralling out of control, I ordered one of the technicians to hook up a locking mechanism linking the armory door to the terminal in my office. The news of the armory being closed off angered a sizable group of residents. They stated it was their right to defend themselves and demanded that they be given access to the armory once more, and I of course denied this request. Riots began soon after. During the peak of the violence, the group calling for free access to the armory stormed the vault's exit and left. The door was sealed after them and additional guards were stationed at the exit. This proved to be a grave mistake. With the additional guards at the exit, there were fewer to patrol the halls. None of them were prepared for the group that ambushed the armory. The guards were able to defend their position, but not before the damage was done during the fight. One of the reactor's cooling vents was damaged. And then the final one Fighting settled slightly following the announcement of the damage to the reactor before panic overtook the Vault's residents. The technicians struggled to repair the damage to the reactor and main computer systems. We learned too late that as part of an automatic safety protocol, the reactor had been reconfigured to use alternative pipelines for its cooling systems. Unfortunately, with the damage to the mainframe, the system was unable to detect the structural damage to the vault. Radioactive gases pumped through the broken pipes and irradiated the vault. On top of it all, we cannot open the vault's main door. All systems appear to be on autopilot and manual override functions have been disabled. We'll just have to hope we can survive long enough for the door to open automatically. So the Overseer was hoping that Vault-Tec would automatically open the door to the vault at some point in the future. And then they would be saved, and unfortunately that didn't happen. So that is the story of Vault 34. As with many of these vaults, everything went to hell, but there were some survivors, such as the boomers, and there's a small handful that have survived within the vault that you can save if you choose to do so, but you do risk then screwing over the NCR if you do that, so it's really up to you. So hopefully you found that interesting. It's certainly one of the more interesting vaults, and it's a dangerous place to go exploring, so be careful if you do plan to explore Vault 34 by yourself. That's me signing off, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.